Multiply by French-Caribbean singer, bassist, and producer Adi Oasis. Born in Paris, she moved to New York City as a young adult, and she's had a successful career from playing in a 17-piece disco throwback band Escort to collaborating and touring with a wide range of artists like CeeLo Green, Masego, and Chet Faker. And on top of that, she's had a prolific solo career, creating a unique blend of funk, jazz, R&B, and soul, which hits the sweet spot between the past and the future. And she's just about to release a new album. It's called Lotus Glow, and she's here in the studio to tell me more about it. I'm so happy to have you here because I interviewed you 2 years ago during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
It was virtual, and so it's good to see you in the flesh. Welcome to France 24.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
And congratulations on your new album, Lotus Glow. It's a very generous album, 15 tracks on the LP.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the title first and foremost. Where does this title come from? What does it refer to?
So I've had a lot of, as any artist, so much growth in my life, especially going through 2020, a lot of realizations. I changed my name from Adeline to Adi Oasis. And also that in terms of music and musicality and my production, I really got to a place where I felt like I finally was able to create the music I had in my head. So it felt a little bit like a beginning of something. So the lotus, out of the mud comes the flower. I felt like it was time for me to share my story. So I talk a lot about my family and my upbringing and where I come from. It gets political at times. And the glow is because I'm looking forward to the future.
Lotus Glow, it's a beautiful title.
Thank you.
So you mentioned there that you changed your name.
Yeah.
So why did you feel the need to make this major transformation, which is a name change?
Yes, huge. I've always wanted to do it. As you mentioned, I was in a band before. So I didn't really have the opportunity to question myself on what my identity as a solo artist was. I was just Adeline from Escort. And then when I made the jump, which was already difficult, took a lot of courage, I kind of put in the back of my head that I wanted to change my name. I wasn't so sure what it would be. And then came the pandemic and a lot of, self-realization. The curtain was pulled and I just kind of, one thing led to another, and I found my name and also found the courage to do it.
It's a beautiful name as well.
Thank
We're going to
you.
listen to another track off your album. It's called Red to Violet. Check it out.
Living out your life, you'd rather fantasize than stop pretending that you don't really need me. Like red to violet, oh, you need me. Yeah. Now take the violet seed.
To Violet off Adi Oasis's upcoming album Lotus Glow. So that track there features the R&B poet Jamila Woods. Mm-hmm. And you said that you were actually inspired for this track by Ketanji Brown Jackson, so the first black woman who was named to the Supreme Court in the United States.
Yeah.
You mentioned a little while ago that your album was a little bit more political this time. How is it more political?
Because it's my story, and inherently it's the story of a girl immigrant, because I immigrated out of France to go to the US, and living a black experience in the US was different from the black experience in France. I'm Caribbean, all these things mixed in together, and walking in my shoes, there's a lot of things that we go through, especially witnessing terrible events and witnessing events that are amazing, like Ketanji Brown Jackson being elected to Supreme Court, but why is it happening for the first time only in 2022, right? So, inherently telling my story gets political.
And your story, you moved around a lot. You grew up in Paris, moved to New York City. You've been there for many years. You mentioned your Caribbean heritage through your father, who's from Martinique.
Yeah.
And this multiculturalism really does infuse your music. There's one track on your album I love. It's called Sidonie, which you wrote for your grandmother, if I understand correctly. And you actually sing some lyrics in French. Dis-moi qui je suis, tell me who I am, which is a question so many of us ask ourselves all the time. What kind of answer are you looking for from your grandmother?
I think there's something to that also, the fact that this is my white grandmother who I'm seeking when it comes to my identity. It just kind of transcends race, which is something that I would love to eventually for people to do, especially in America. And it's just really going to the root of the essence of who I am. And she would not have cared about stardom or spotlights or awards or any of it. She lived in a country. She grew up on the farm that she actually lived on forever. So when it comes to the essential in life and what's important is just love and family. She reminds me of that.
And grandmothers are a good reminder of that in general.
Yes, right?
Now, switching gears a little bit here from grandmothers to the sensual side of your music, because some of your songs are very sensual. For instance, that first track we listened to in the opening, Multiply, you've said that this song is about what happens to many women when we reach a certain age, perhaps, and our hormones start saying, we want a baby.
Yeah.
It's rare to hear people sing about the biological clock
Yeah.
in such a powerful and vulnerable way. Why don't you think more women sing about it?
Because I think the first thing would be I don't think enough women write their own songs or produce their own songs.
Good
So
point.
that needs to change. A lot of what we hear is still under the guide of men and the patriarchy. That's why I'm really, really praising for more female producers. Like decision making being made by women will change the narrative. And I just speak my truth, and it also happens every month. Like some people have called this song an ovulation anthem. Why not? Also written in a context of the reversal of Roe v. Wade, which made me want to claim in another way, like why it is my choice, because it is on my timeline. So again, political inherently.
And important, as you said, to get the female perspective on songs, not what men imagine women think about.
Exactly.
So you've created this really unique soundscape in your music. You talk about retro-futurist music, which I love. And you mentioned that before going solo, this was in 2018, I believe, you played in a lot of other people's bands.
Yeah.
It's a really brave move to go solo. What ultimately pushed you to make the jump?
The desire to write my own narrative, and even the inspiration artistically to create the body of the music myself, or at least to be a part of it. That's what sparked it.
Well, it's wonderful that you did, because we get to enjoy your
you.
music. We're going to move on to some other music news that's making headlines with the Grammy-winning American singer-songwriter Pink. She's released her 9th studio album. It's called Trustfall, and it will make you cry and dance, maybe at the same time. Now, the pop star started working on the LP in the wake of a turbulent time after battling a severe case of COVID and losing loved ones to cancer. So she channeled her grief into this very vulnerable record, which documents her journey in learning to accept the most difficult changes in life. Check out the lead single. It's called Trustfall.
Close your eyes and leave it all behind. Know our love is on our side. It's a trust fall, baby. It's a trust fall, baby. You and I and everyone alive, we can run into the fire. It's a trust fall, baby. Yeah, it's a trust fall, baby.
So that's Pink's new album there, Trustfall. Your album, Lotus Glow, out soon, and it's about to be released for the first time on vinyl.
Yeah.
This is very retro-futurist to be coming back to the vinyl. What's so
Yeah.
exciting about having it come out on this physical object?
Well, every first time is exciting. So first time in a vinyl is really a big deal to me. It's something to be able to feel your music in physical form, right? And it's a request. People very often at shows love buying vinyl. So sometimes I get asked. So I'm glad that I can actually give that to them now.
And it does sound different, and it makes you listen to the whole album, which I think is a great experience.
That's true.
So next, Gina Birch, founding member of the legendary British experimental post-punk band, the Raincoats. She's releasing a debut solo LP. It's called I Play My Bass Loud. It spans 11 tracks and distills her years of music, political, and artistic life. Sonic Youth's frontman Thurston Moore plays guitar on one of the tracks, as well as Jane Crawford from the Maudettes and Emily El Hadj of Angel Olsen's band, who you might recognize in the clip of the song, I Play My Bass Loud.
I yell across the street. Turn up the volume. Notes fly around the room, dancing to their tune. Notes fly across the street. Notes rattle your feet. Notes fly around the room, dancing to their tune. Notes rattle your feet.
So that was I Play My Bass Loud by legendary post-punk bassist Gina Birch. You play the bass.
Ew.
So usually the bass kind of takes a back seat from the rest of the band. Do you agree with that song that the bass should be played loud?
Yeah, she's awesome, by the way. I think the bass is more often loud than we know. And bass players are okay with not necessarily being noticed because we know how important we are. We don't need to be reminded.
Exactly. And you always notice the bass when there isn't a bass.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's proof that you really need a bass in a band.
That's right.
Not that I'm questioning that at all. So finally, one of America's all-time great underground rock powered trios, the Screaming Females, are back with their 8th studio album. It's called Desire Pathway. And there's quite the mix of sonic landscapes on this album, rock and indie with hints of prog, goth, funk, blues, and punk. 17 years after getting started, they're still going strong and bringing the big riffs. We're going to leave you with a track off the album. It's called Morning Dove. But before we go, I want to thank my guest today, Adi Oasis. So nice to meet you and have you here finally in the flesh.
Yes, so nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And good luck with the upcoming album. So it's out on March 3rd.
That's right.
So check it out. It's called Lotus Glow. For more arts and culture news, head to our website and stay in touch on social media. And stay tuned to France 24. More news is coming up right after this.